Regulator build guide. Take a small torch of aluminium, remove the battery cover end and as much internal components as you need, leaving the lens at the end alone, advised. Insert component 2, your birthstone as chips with a copper wire spiral around them set into a octagonal resin rod. Place a silver flower of life seal on one external side near the torch bulb end. Set roughly right-angled to that silver seal around the rod so that it is a few centimeters from the edge of the seal, a steel rod or needle that extends just over the length of the torch body without its screw cap end. Onto the steel rod, place a flat, thin, oblong neodymium magnet set so that it grips strongly to the steel needle rod and can slide up and down it slightly. On the torch lens, under where the protruding end of the neodymium magnet reaches, place an orgonite button that covers the torch end and sits level to the end of the steel rod where the magnet can slide to. At this point, it's best to describe a series of bindings that it is best to use, occasioning both varying gauges of wire and fabric cord. You'll have to use your intuition in this part or study a few trinket wrapping technique videos. You can insert a strong safety pin through the fabric cord wrap above the silver seal to place a round neodymium magnet with an indent for a hematite ball magnet. At the top of the device, you can break the crystal birthstone octagonal rod off to a minor protrusion or keep it intact so that it's longer. That's up to you. Mine's broken off a little bit shorter. But should you place over a series you should place over a series of rubber settings to hold the rod in place at the protrusion end so that it can't move inside the torch body at all where the thread for the battery cap is. I don't know if I wrote that whole sentence right, but I'm trying to say you need to seal in at the end where it sticks out from where the thread is. I used rubber bands or other things that are thick enough to not allow it to move, and it has to be forced into it. Then place a rose gold ring onto the rubberized seal and fit an aluminum tube end down onto the rose gold ring. So that should be crimped to the octagonal rod so that you have to force it all the way down onto the inside of the rose gold ring. My rose gold ring is a locket, so it opens and has a few cubic zirconia still fit into it, but the rose gold is the important point. The bindings around these top components, for which I advise thick cord of fabric, should weave through and or around each other to lock everything without any possible movement. The entire wrapping process itself you should treat like a katana hilt wrapping. Not in that exact style or that it is a weapon, but that it's somewhat ceremonial and quite precise to maximize tension and prevent loosening. You should aim for 50% of the torch itself fully wrapped for a comfort grip. You can wrap the rod needle, but don't wrap the seal or thin magnet. For those kinds of bindings, you need to use the wire, just like with the ORGONITE button, and any of the rest of the device that you feel would be benefited there. It's somewhat intuitive, but I don't really advise going too far away from the basic design. And that's the end of the guide. You can add extra crystals into it, but you know, uh, other ways that you can attach little trinkets or smaller components, but I advise you to not use more than a few crystals because you don't really want to diversify the field effect, and it'll work best if you just keep your birthstone from that octagonal rod that should fill and stick out at the end of the torch up to where the lens fitting should still be inside it, and that just keeps the point where you'll put the ORGONITE button on stable so nothing can fall inside it at that end, basically. So I have mine affixed to a hand-wrapped thin metal plate headband, using the headband itself to bind the regulator. Neodymium, it's two neodymium magnets on the headband with hematite ball magnets. You can see there's one smaller hematite ball magnet on the left there. Another larger one is just to the right of the regulator on the headband. Between the two that you can actually see under the wrap is just giving it some extra stability against the headband, which it's got the strong force connection to. And then the whole thing will sit comfortably there. You can move your hand around to every position. If you don't want to do this, you can keep it as a wand. And yeah, this is a great way to gain a superior control of your body function in a very basic sense. And it's capable of other things, but it's a intuitive process, I guess. And I'm suggesting it mostly for people with health conditions, any kind of health condition, physical or neurological, essentially. People who are interested in spirituality, and anybody. It's a bio regulator, and everybody's got that bio, and everybody needs regulation. The only other thing I could say, I'll scroll down and show you some more photos of the wrap style, and you can slot in crystals or pretty much anything to use as a brace if you want more tension across the palm. I'm fond of binding crystals under that point with the knot in the middle, and that could be, a worry stone or something like that, or any other object. It shouldn't cut your circulation because the plate is quite flat for the headband, so that'll go evenly across the veins on the back of your hand, and then it's just nice flat fabric across the sides of the hand where it comes into the knot joins on the palm. But as you can see, that 2 points that it extends across binds the regulator completely straight, or you can set it and move it around either way.